Hello, Tyler Bryden here. Hope everything is going well. Got some breaking news. Love to jump into it right away. Shout out to Jason. I saw this, Tumblr and WordPress preparing to sell user data to Midjourney and OpenAI. This originally was posted on 404. Now, maybe I'm a bad guy here, but don't have an account for 404. It's a paid exclusive, so I'm not going to dive too deep into this. If you want, you can check it out, but other details are now leaking on the internet. So for anyone not logged in, someone asking on Hacker News, this is why I commented a sort of forum message thread. First of all, who are the players involved? WordPress, Tumblr, owned by a company called Automatic. Great interview with one of the founders, maybe the founder of Automatic, with Tim there. Great interview, great insight. I'm a huge fan of WordPress, a huge fan of Automatic, open source movement, the development of websites. Not only have almost the majority of all my websites ever been hosted on WordPress, it's made me a lot of money throughout the year. It was my first real sort of successful business endeavor, was designing and building sites on WordPress. And I figured out a lot of things throughout that process. SpeakAI.co today is actually run on WordPress. So the love is there, built into one of the enterprises that I'm a part of and have run passionately. And it's been a great solution, helped me scale enormously. And now what's interesting, to add additional context to this, is just 5-6 days ago, there was a license deal that came out reportedly between Reddit and Google about using Reddit data for training AI models. And there's been theories around this and where does this business develop and how do we get more access to exclusive data throughout the web, and then how do you build a competitive barrier if everyone's models are trained on all the same data. And so what needs to happen is that you need access to proprietary data. There's other thought paths about synthesizing that data, but real human generated information I think is enormously relevant and valuable, and that's why this is the path that's being taken. Jason Calacanakis, still not sure if I'm pronouncing that name right, has been a big advocate that this is the path that we're going on. And this is now starting to confirm, these start to be signals of what is actually going to take place here. So Google 6 days ago, and now we can jump back into this story. OpenAI, again, everywhere. Midjourney continuing to grow, I think 2 million in annual recurring revenue, just like running that out of a Discord channel. So the demand there is enormous, and still little concrete detail, as this says, but there are some very fascinating things that have emerged about this already. First of all, that there has been this idea that there's an initial data dump that has occurred from, you can see Tumblr's public post content between 2014 and 2023, but apparently mistake, there was content that shouldn't have been included in that data dump. Hidden, private, behind passwords, maybe even drafts. I'm not exactly sure about the details. So shows that with a couple of wrong settings, the amount of data that gets passed to a company like this can be enormous and can have even more sensitive information than the company's willing to share. What other emerged in this was, okay, interesting. There is a way for you to manage this. There's a way for you to manage if you want to be indexed through Midjourney, OpenAI, other third-party providers, robots, TXT, but specifically for AI that is scraping. And the question is, okay, if you opt out from the start, what if your data was already in there? Or then if you were originally opted in and then you move forward and then you want to opt out, does that automatically, retroactively pull that information from the data set? It seems like a lot of unclarity here that's highlighted in this, where it says, okay, based on our discussions, we think that they would honor it and they probably wouldn't include it in our next version of the model. So lots of blurry unclarity with this arrangement that I think will be continued signals of where we're heading and the challenges that may be. These companies trying to spin it as a positive thing, I think that's their right. But overall, this seems to be a possibly dangerous trend where companies with big bankrolls like Google, like OpenAI, like Midjourney are able to access data, creating better models, trained on more data that other people don't have access to. And we continue to build this separation between the haves and the have-nots. People concerned about, of course, their own website makes sense. I'm myself interested in this. Now, got some thunder in the back here. What's interesting in my current iteration with Speak specifically, I'm very happy to have my data indexed in a way there because it's actually recommending people to speak. But I don't know if that's always the case. Those are just the edge cases maybe I hear about. And now that I'm in that system, it can refer to me any way that system wants. And this is a little bit different from the previous iteration, the version of search, where Blue Link, it indexes the page the way that you've structured it, and generally honors it. Doesn't always these days, but generally. And you have control over that messaging and the language. That no longer has to happen. And based on who you are and the way you're asking question, the answer about the information relevant to you could be in a positive way for you, or it could be possibly in a negative way, or a way that you don't want it reflected. And I think overall the bigger theme, I talked about this in a video with Mistral, this idea of open source moving to business model private. People obviously love WordPress for its open source model. I'm a big believer in that. I love it that I can just fire up a little server and self-host that. And again, that's been a big driver of success in my life. And so there's obvious and noticeable outrage from people who are using WordPress with this shift that they did not opt into, that they did not vote on, and they don't agree. And the counter argument is business models are changing. We're seeing BuzzFeed and all these things start to get destroyed. And I'm not saying that's specifically affecting WordPress, but at the same time, the businesses with huge swaths of data are obviously trying to figure out better ways to monetize it and become more stable in this very quickly changing environment where in one day this data and content could be highly valuable, maybe the next it is not. So what else do I have to say about this? Not much, but I think this is a fascinating story that we're going to continue to see this trends emerge, and there's going to be other, like Core has already done this internally with their own AI, but we're going to see high value content creators or providers or distributors start to basically license their content to these models. And that just opens up an incredible can of worms, and I'm not really sure where this goes. And I think even one of the more extreme one is as, say, some of these big media companies sort of model shift and change. They're looking for these same licensing and opportunities. So what if Batman or Star Wars or one of these franchises decides, hey, I'm going to license my content to OpenAI or Midjourney, and now people can interactively generate their own versions, everything there. Ooh, it's got some huge thunder here. So I think we are in a hugely disruptive time where these companies need to adapt, these organizations need to adapt, and some things are going to be positive with that adaptation, some pieces are not. So if you're a fan of WordPress, Tumblr, what do you think? What are your feelings about this? And is this the start of a model that we're going to see emerge over these next few years as these AI companies continue to dominate? Thanks so much for checking this video. Hope you got some good insights. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.